Good day everyone, welcome to the next section of our web development class. So in this section you'll be moving to how to fetch data from APIs. So now, what are APIs and how does API work? API is called Application Programming Interface. It is a bridge that allows different applications to communicate with each other. It enables softwares to send and receive data without exposing their internal code. Okay, what does this mean? Think of API like a waiter of a restaurant. You are the client, that is the user. You order food, which means you request for a data. So the waiter now serves as the API that do what? That takes the order to the kitchen, which is the what? The server. So the kitchen now, the server prepares this food, and that is they process the what? They process the data, and the what? The waiter brings his food back to you, the user, which is the what? Response. So in a simple term, using this example I just stated now, an API is just like you sending a request to the server. So now the server now processing the request you are sending, then giving it back as a response. That's just what API does. API helps, it just serves as a middleman, as a middleman to whatever you want to do between you and the what? And the server, between the user and the server. Just like the example I did, you went to a restaurant to get something, so you order for whatever you want to order for, which means you put on a request. Then the waiter takes the order to the kitchen to prepare what? To prepare the request. That's the server. The server is just like where your request is being processed. So now the server helps you to take your request to where it will be processed. Now the kitchen then prepares the what? Prepares the order, which means the server now help you process your data. Then after processing the data, it brings it back to you as a response. So that's how API works. So now the API in this term here now is the waiter that is taking the order to the server, then bringing it back to you as a response. So API is just like an intermediary between a user and the what? And the server. That is, it serves as a what? As a waiter between the user and the server, then bring it back to you as a response. So that's API. So we have types of API. We have web API, we have REST API, we have SOAP API, we have GraphQL API. But the one we'll be working with most here is what? REST API. And what is REST API? REST API uses HTTP methods to send and receive data in JSON format. E.g., we have Open Weather API for our weather forecast. We also have JSON placeholder API, that is this API to get user data from the internet. And how does REST API work? So how does REST API works? REST API works with the use of what? With the use of using fetch method. We have fetch method. So now I'll be doing some examples now, so we can see how our API works, how we can take data from the API, how we can send data to the API. So now we have this fetch. It makes use of fetch method. So JavaScript provides ways to fetch data from the API, with the most common being we have fetch, we have as use. As use is just fetch is like a modern and preferred way of fetching APIs. So we have as use. As use is just like a third party library. You have to install the library before you can use it. And we have the HTTP request. It is an older method, not recommended, not recommended, but it is another method of way of getting data from the API. So we'll be using a fetch method now. So we want to use a fetch method of getting an API, and we'll be using a JSON placeholder format. Then you just have to do what? Fetch Fetch is a method, then within it http function, then I'll do what? Fetch posts users, then I'll do what? Const API / users. So automatically I've done what? I've linked the URL to this now. So we want to get what? We want to get users. You know, in the first one we're making use of posts. Okay, let me just let's add users to this place and see /users. Let's see what we'll be getting. /users. Then let's see what we'll be getting. Let's comment out this. Let's see what we'll be getting. Okay, can you see it? Automatically we were able to do what? We were able to fetch users data. We were able to fetch users data. Can you see it? Their name, ID, name. This is the name, username, email. This is the person's address. This is the address. This is the. So we have this. So now let's just explain how to do it in a more better way. So let's convert this back. So let's move on. So now I want to fetch users data, Abi. Now I will just come to this place. I will try my async function. Async, then function. Async function. So I have the function here. What's the function name I want to use? Let me use fetch users. Fetch users. Then I'm having this. Fetch users. Then I want to try and catch error. Then within my try, what did I want to do? Let response. Instead of data now, we are using users. Do you understand? Instead of making use of what? Data, the way we're using it. Now we want to make use of users. Let users equals to what? Await response. Console.log users. Then okay. Console.log users. Then I will just let me put it here. User data. Users data, then comma. So I'm having this. So now if this response here, if this try is true, then it should just do what? It should log out users data. But if from this place the API is not correct, it should just tell us what? HTTP error. This is the error it is showing. If not response.ok. So this response here now is the one is like a variable name we assign to the API. So it's just like our API now. If anytime we want to call this API here now, it is automatically what? Response. Just like the explanation I did. You went to a restaurant to get what? You order for a food. You order for a food. Then a waiter takes the food to the what? To the server. Then the server processes the data and bring it out as what? As the response. So we are trying to get response here. So what are we getting as response? We want to get response from this API. So once this response is okay, you should do what? You should just log out users. But if this response is not okay, not response.ok, then it should just tell us what? It should just show this error. Response here, this format here, this is what we want our response is checking first. If this is okay, then it should just it should print out, list out, log out these users. But if it is not okay, you should just show out this error. So let's move on. So now console.error, then we are having error fetching users data. Error fetching users data. Then we have error. So this is the format. So automatically in this place now, this catch error maybe once the server is not okay, or once it is having an internal error, or if your API is having an internal error, that's when this error will comes up. So let's try something. We should be able to see. Okay, we've not invoked it. So can you see we are not seeing the result because what, we've not invoked this fetch users. So you come down here and invoke fetch users. So now let's go again. Can you see automatically it has get what, it has get the data of users. It has helped us get our data of what, data of users. This is data of users working within that complaint, or let's say users using the website using that API. So these are the users. So from ID, name, email, username, address, and so on. So now let's do some things. Let's do something here now. Let's just put maybe S here, X, and let's fetch again. Let's go again. Can you see it? Error fetching user data. Can you see it? Automatically it has already take this response. Okay, it is taking the response of this API is not okay, which means the API, can you see it, socket error, the other side close. The error fetching user data is just like the API is not okay, the API is not correct, so automatically it's not catching that one. But what if response is not okay? Response is not okay, like data, maybe there's lack of internet, or let's say, let me close the internet and select launch again. Let me close the internet. So then I'll do Ctrl Z, then let's log it again. Okay, okay, can you see it? Error JSON API JSON 28.9.28. So what's it giving us? So it is not fetching the API because network is bad. Error fetching user data, type error, because network is bad. It is not getting what, it is not getting the what is it called, user, it can't have access to the what, to the internet, so to the server. So now let's connect back the internet and let's see. So it is connected. Now let's do something. Can you see it? Automatically it has gotten what, it has gotten users data back. So now this one here now, if response is not okay, that is if your network is bad or you don't have internet, you should be getting this error. And this one, if your API is not correct, your API URL is not correct, you should be getting error fetching users data. So that's how we fetch data, and this is how we check for errors. So this one thing is, the first one we use .catch is just like it is applicable, it is advisable to use, but we can't use it if we are trying to use more than one, if we are trying to fetch more than one API. So in this case, this fetch async await function, you can use it to fetch more APIs. It allows your code to be neat and manageable, your code to be readable, and so on. So that's why async await is still applicable to use. So let's see if we can do another example. So now let's link this to our HTML now. Let's link to our HTML. So we'll be linking this to HTML now and say so now let's create an HTML tags. So now we have our HTML here. So within our HTML we'll be creating maybe h2, and I'll give it users list. Then I will come here and do something like table. So my table, our normal way of creating table. So we'll have our table head, which is th. Okay, let's create table head first. Table head. So we'll have this. So we'll be using our tr to create a row. So within this table now I want to do something like border 1. So tr, within this tr I'll create an id. The first tr, okay, sorry, within my tr I'll create th first. So th, so within my th id, then after id name, another th, name, another th. What should they put? Email, another th, websites. So we have this. So now let's come after this, before our closing tag of the table. Then I'll do what? Body. Then within this body I'll create an id. I'll give it an id of what? User table. Then I'll come to this place. Now let's modify our code. Okay, let's just do something else. Let's not tamper with that code. Now let's do something like const. Okay, we've created our API URL already. We don't need to create another one. So I'll just do async. My async, don't forget I'm using async function. Then what am I doing? What I want to do? Let's say fetch display. Let's use as equals to what? Equals to await. So what do you want our await to do? Response, to convert our response to what? JSON. Then I will just come down here. Let table body, the table body that we created, don't forget to let table body equals to what? We want to get it by id. Document dot what? Dot get element by id. So what was the id we gave to it? User table. So I'm having this. So now what do you want our stuff to do now? Now we want to make use of for each loop. For each loop, to list out our what? To list out our arrays and our objects into what? Into the tables that we created on our HTML page. So I will just do what? Users dot what? Users dot for each. Users dot for each. Then users like this. So now what do you want to do within this users dot for each? Let row equals to what? Equals to tr. let role equals to what? tr. Let role equals to tr. I'm coming. Then what are we doing with our role? Then I will be creating td. So within my td, what did I want to do? Okay, I want to collect data. Which data am I collecting? User what dot id. User dot id. I want to collect it within this place. Then I will close my td back. Td. You know we didn't create td within our this thing. So this is where we are creating our td. Can you see it? And what am I using? I'm using tags. I'm creating them. I'm just using normal tags. I'm using the normal tags. What am I using? I'm using this. Let's just continue. You will understand how it is working. So let's create another td. Let's just copy and paste. Ctrl C. Then this one for name. So it will be user dot what? Dot name. Users. Okay, user dot name. Dot name. Then the next one, user dot what? Email. Email. And the next one, we have this. So within this one now, we'll be creating a what? A link. We'll be creating a link. So the link will be what? Anchor tag. Then I'll create a within my href. Then don't forget this is an attribute, http user dot what dot website. So we have this. So now we close this back. So our target, we want it to be blank. So again, user dot data, user dot data, user dot data. Then within this place, you close your a tag. I'm having this. So now, what was the next thing we are trying to do? So now we will close our tr. So let's close our tr here. tr. So let's bring this here. So it turns out okay. So we can know what we are doing. So we've closed our tr. So now after closing the tr, what's the next thing we want to do? Our table body. We want to implement everything now, everything here, every target here into our table body. Then it will be what? Table body dot inner what? Inner html. Then we'll be using this function plugs equals to. Then it should keep adding. Row to our inner.html. So now to our table.inner.html, you should keep adding row. So now we've done this, automatically you should be seeing the result. So let's catch error. If our API is not correct, console.error, console.error. Then what are we doing? Error. Then let's just do what? Error. Then don't forget you invoke fetch display. Then we invoke. So now let's link it. Okay, we've linked it already. Now let's go to our browser and let's see what we'll be having. happening. So it is not showing. So let's look where the error is coming from. Let's check where the error is coming from. Let's check. Let's configure this. Want you see. Okay, can you see it? We didn't put this in a string, so that's why we are not getting our result. Then let's go back. Okay, can you see it? Automatically we've gotten the list of what we are getting within our terminal, with what we were getting here before. So this is ambrose.net, phone number is 024. So now we are only getting what we want from the user. So if you want to get all of these things now, it is very easy. The only thing you just have to do is create another what is it called, another TD, then implement what, address dot what, user dot what, user dot address. Then you'll be getting this address. Then if you want to get the complaint also, user dot what, user dot complaint, then you get the user's data for complaint also. So this is it. We've already gotten the user's data. So now we're able to fetch, can you say we're able to fetch from the API the user's list of TP code. So we're able to fetch user list of TP code. Now what if we just want to fetch just a single user? To fetch a single user is very simple. To fetch a single user is very simple. To fetch a single user, then to fetch a single user, we can just do what? Okay, const what's the user, or the user what, what's it called? We want to make use of just one user URL. Okay, we want to make use of just user ID. So just like what, okay, I was explaining something at the back end, like if you want to get the data from the back end, you specify like, so get data from so something. So okay, now why I want to use something called ID. I want to make use of ID now to fetch a single user data. So now why am I using ID? ID is a very unique, and ID is a very unique something in database or fetching data. Why is ID very unique? Now I can just say, okay, my name is Wale, and another person can be bearing Wale, and so automatically we have two Wale. So now if I want to fetch data using name and I put what, Wale, automatically everybody bearing Wale will come out to the list. What if I'm bearing the same surname with people, and I also want to make use of surname? People using the same surname will do what? If everybody bearing that surname will be affected. I just want to affect just a single person, but in a way that I've already accessed the surname and just more than one person is bearing the surname, it will affect what? It will affect everybody. So that's why ID is a very unique syntax in what, in programming. So now we will be using ID. So now just like your school now, a multiple person or more than one person can have the same matric number. So now it is very easy for me. If I want to delete a data of a student in a school, I can just search the student by his matric number and automatically I will delete the student. So that's how ID works. And if I just want to, okay, I'm not using ID, I just want to say, okay, I want to go and delete so person names, and automatically it's bringing more than one person, more than one user. How do I know the person to delete? But if I know like the person's username, automatically I will know what to delete from the person's name. Now that's how I want to make use of ID. Then I'll do what? User ID. So I want to delete user ID of 3. I just want to print out user ID of 3. So and I will do dot const URL equals what? Equals https users. Then which aspect of the user am I fetching? I want to fetch user ID of what? 3. Then I will do this. user ID of 3, then I'll put what? User ID. So let me change this. I will change this. So now I've changed to user. I want to check the user ID. I just want to print the only user ID of 3. Then I'm having this. So now async function, async function. So what name are we giving to our function? Fetch user. Okay, let's give it single user. Then what parameters? We're not giving it parameter yet. So now try and catch. So what are we trying to catch within our error? Let response. It's still the same thing. Okay, URL. If not response, if not response, let user equals to await. And then what are we awaiting? We want to convert our response to what? JSON. Then don't forget it is a method. So now console.log. So what are we giving back as a response? User, then this user ID. We want to get users by their ID, so we are using user ID. It is a very unique something. So user ID will not give us what? Name. So we want to view user.name. User.name, comma, email, user.email. So we have this. So now let's just console.our console.error. So what are we doing? Error fetching user. Error fetching user. So let's go again. Okay, we won't be seeing our results. Why? Because we've not invoked this. So let's invoke single user. So now I won't be seeing the result anymore here because we've already used something like document.getElement.id within the upper one. So but let's see if it will be getting it. Okay, it is getting user 3. Can you see it? User 3, Clementine Bouch, then this is the name, email, then this. So that's how it works. So we're able to fetch a user data. So that's that about our API, how we fetch API from the internet, from the server, and so on. So see in our next video. And in this case, this will be the end of our JavaScript data. This will be the end of our JavaScript. So we'll be moving to React in our project. So our final project that we'll be doing in this case now will be how to we'll be fetching a data from a weather API. You'll be fetching a data from weather API. So that will be our final project on what? On JavaScript. Thank you. See you in our next video. So we'll be starting with React in our next video. Thank you.